Welcome back. Here I am bringing you the next episode of Nakshebaazi. Aao saath mein milkar kari jaye. The topic which I have in mind for you guys is something which is very interesting, right? A lot of North Indians, including me, struggled a lot on this topic because we're just not able to make sense of those Tamil words here, right? So what I aim to do here is that using geography, maps, and the Sangam literature, I'll try and give you a brief understanding of certain, this is not an exhaustive presentation, right? I cannot fix it all in a 25-30 minutes lecture. But yes, what I'll try and do is give you some sense of some very important aspects without which you cannot really appreciate Sangam Age, right? So let's have a look. This should be quite fun. So we are going to look at how geography, culture, and poetry, they all intersect. So let's start from something very, very basic here. Sangam, if you want to understand this next, whatever discussion that we are following here, you can equate it to like a censor board. You can understand it like an academy or assembly of poets and scholars. They are not writing themselves. They are simply picking up the best literature according to their subjective opinion. From all the works which is prevalent in the Sangam age of that times, they are picking it up, the choicest works, and collecting them in anthologies and collections. Right? This is primarily why the Sangam is derived from the Sanskrit word Sangha. So this is why 3 Sangams are organized, right? It is also known as Chankam or Kutam Sangam, ke ye do aur naam hai, right? Kutam, in fact, was the old name of Madurai. Madurai is right on the banks of river Vaigai. Right? Vaigai. So this entire far south region, what do I mean by far south region? I mean this. This is your far south region. In ancient times, it was known as a Tamilakam. It was known as a Tamilakam. And it had, I mean, if you compare it to the present day political boundaries, it comprised of your entire Tamil Nadu, Kerala, southern Karnataka, southern Andhra, including northern Sri Lanka, Elam region. All that was known as a Tamilakam. There was a hill known as Venkatam Hill, and from Venkatam Hill to Kanyakumari. This was a very distinct geographical region. And Mauryan rock edites refer to Cheras, Cholas and Pandyas ruling there and others as well. Then King Kharvel, he also in one of his inscription in Udaygiri caves, right, there these Tamil society is mentioned. There the Tamil society is mentioned. It is mentioned that Kharvel of Mahameghavan, Kalinga dynasty, right, he defeated a confederacy of Tamil states, right, which was centuries old. Right? He is using a very interesting word as well, actually. Ye dekho, a kind of a Tamil confederacy was defeated by Kharvel. So as I was telling you, Sangams, 3 Sangams primarily take place, and these 3 are kind of academies where they are trying to pick up the best of poems which are present around the Tamil society. 3 Sangams, let's have a look at it, right? From 6th century BCE, if we keep in mind the recent findings at Kiladi, then the date has been now shifted to around 6th century BCE. It is believed that far south saw urbanization at pretty much the same time when Gangetic Valley did. You see the implication? Age of Mahajanpads जब वहां था तब यहाँ पे Sangam Age था, and there also we start noticing certain signs of state formation, urbanization, etc. Okay, so as per the legend, as the legend goes, the sites of first 2 Sangams, they were flooded. In fact, a lot of scholars believe that the first 2 Sangams were simply myths and legends. Because if you look at their, there's no historical evidence as such, except hearsay, right? Except something which is mentioned in stories. So, Sangam Age, when I say, I am referring to this period. This is the time period of the 3rd Sangam. This is the time period of the 3rd Sangam. We really do not know much about the first 2 Sangams. For this far south region, even people such as Megasthenes, Strabo, Pliny, Ptolemy, they have written about Sangam era and their cities. Even Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, you remember? Right. So the first Sangam was organized by 89 Pandyan chiefs. Do not use the word king, chiefs, right? And the location was Tain, Madurai. The location was Tain, Madurai. It is also known as Mudhal Sangam. Mudhal Sangam. Even gods are supposed to have attended it. And sage Agastya or Agatyar, he is believed to be the chairman. Sage Agatyar. The second one takes place at Kapata Puram, organized again by Pandyans. It's the Pandyans who organize it. Madurai was their city, their capital. Right? This is known as Idai Sangam. 1700 poets participated. It went on for 3700 long years. And only one work has survived. That work is the oldest extant Tamil grammar work, known as Tolkappiyam, written by a very brilliant Tolkappiyar. Right? But as I was telling you, a lot of people believe that these 2 were simple stories, right? Legends. The 3rd Sangam, organized by 49 Pandyan chiefs, called as Kadai Sangam. A lot of these works, not all of them, but a lot of them. You get the point? Not every work has survived, but some portions of it has survived. And what has survived is this: 2,000, more than 2,300 Tamil poems, 473 poets, 102 anonymous, 27 of them at least were women. And these people belong to all sorts of occupation and geography. Somebody was a prince, somebody was a farmer, somebody was a housewife, and so on and so forth. They have written these songs, these poems, and collected them in anthologies, in anthologies. In true sense, it is people's literature. It is common people like us who is composing it, not some expert poet. A professional poet is not composing it. This is people's literature. Interesting, isn't it? It has a combination of facts as well as fiction, right? It has facts plus fiction. A lot of exaggeration also takes place. Certain facts exist. Historical information can also be culled out, undoubtedly, right? At the end of each poem which was picked up, at the end of each poem will be certain notes by the editors giving the name of the author wherever available. In certain cases, it was anonymous. But in a lot of cases, they give you the name of the author, the occasion of its composition, why and when was it composed, and certain other details as well. How fascinating! For all these poems, there are such edited notes as well. सोचो कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन है अपने पास ये. As per Nilkanta Shastri is, I'm sure you guys must have heard of him somewhere. One of the voice when it comes to the early South Indian history. And Nilkanta Shastri believes that all this literature, the Sangam literature which is coming out, it indicates influence of Indo-Aryan culture as well. North Indians have also percolated down here. So it's the Tamilian society plus the North Indian society which has come down. And they are interacting. And Sangam literature shows the presence of both the elements. Okay? This is sage Agastya, right? Or Agatyar. Again, scholars believe that all these poems which have survived, they seem to be, the way they are linked, connected, author name, everything which is given, it seems that they all were written somewhere in a period of 150 years altogether. Right? They've narrowed it down. Not a lot of political information comes out. No continuous genealogies can be established for these chiefdoms. Only for cheras you can find something for 3-4 generations. That's all. Uske aage, uske piche, we really cannot presume anything here. Remember, these are poems. They were not supposed to give you political information. 7 chiefs were identified for special patronage to poets and arts. 7 chiefs were specifically identified, that while others were busy in cattle raids, this and fighting, warring, these guys were liberally donating to art and literature. They are called as the Vallals. Vallal. These Vallal, these are the 7 names. These were 7 chiefs or chiefdoms. Some of their locations we have established pretty concretely. Right? Ari, Pari, Kari, Uri, Adyaman, Malayaman, and Pekan. Then there were 3 Vendar. Vendars were the big chiefs, the super powerful. There were 3 of them. They are collectively called as Muvendar. In ancient Tamil, Mu is equal to 3. Muvendar. Who were they? They are the famous ones. Cheras, Cholas, Pandyas. Cheras ka nishani kya tha malum hoga tum log ko, right? I want you guys to go and have a look at all that. Cholas ka, there was this tiger, Pandya the carp, the two fish, and Cheras had the bow and arrow. Right? Keep all that in mind. Simple questions to miss karne hi nahi hai hame. See, this is somewhere the Vengadam Hills. This is the old name of Sri Lanka, Tambraparni. Okay, now let's have a look at the literature part. Let's have a look at the literature part and see what we can get out of it at the general level. The entire Sangam literature, it has been classified on certain parameters. Okay, the first classification which you should keep in your head is this: 18 major texts and 18 minor texts. Major texts were written earlier, minor texts were written later. Both of them are 18 in number, right? So the 18 major texts are called as Patinain Mel Kanakku, while 18 minor texts are known as Patinain Kil Kanakku. Do you see the pattern here? Okay, fair. These 18 minor texts, they are mostly didactic in nature. They teach. Right? They deal with morals, ethics. Kural, Thiruvalluvar ne jo likha tha, that comes into Patinain Kilkanakku. Right? They deal with such topics. More important for us is this Patinain Male Kanakku. Right? The Male Kanakku texts, the poems, जो poems जिनकी हम बात कर रहे हैं ना बेटे, 2,300 poems. These poems, they were written in this meter. अकवाल, ये ट्यून होगी, धुन होगी, ये समझ लो. तो इनको गाने का जो तरीका है वो ये. While the poems which are present here, they use Venpa meter. ये इनका अपना गाने का तरीका. Simple, very straight, very interesting. Another set of classification which you should know. एक तो ये हो गया 18 major text, minor text. All these major text, minor texts, they are also classified, or let me put it this way, each poem, right, and all these, the texts as well, they are also classified on this basis. Agam. Agam means inside. Akam bhi likhte hain kahin kahin par, A-K-A-M. And Puram. Puram is outside. So anything to do with internal is Akam. And our external world is Puram. Right? So love. Family, love related to your family, romantic love, eroticism, right? Associated with nature, mostly deals with women. And 3/4 of the Sangam literature, 3/4 of the surviving poems are Agam. And they are spoken by, when you look at it, these poems read as if the hero is saying or the heroine is saying. While here in Puram, it seems that the poet himself is saying, he's describing event, a war, some history, some legend about outside. That's Puram. It deals with but mostly with men here, exclusively with male. and 1/4 of the Sangam literature comes from Puram type. So this is one classification which you should keep it in your head. Now, a couple of other, distributions which you should also know, right? I told you that Patinen male Kanakku is, the more important one here. Right? It gives us much more important information about the socio-economic conditions here. So, Patinen mel Kanakku, right? Which means 18 major texts. They have been divided into 8 and 10. These are your 10 long poems. Single author. Lambi poems hai. They are like guides. Guides to, let's say, the other poets and bards. Guides to the people who play certain instruments. These are known as Pattu. In English, they are typically written as 10 idylls. Right? Idylls. Lays is a better word. I found it yesterday that lays instead of idylls is not correct. You should probably use lays. Right? So, anyway, the idea here for us is to understand very simple. 10 लंबी पोएम है जिनको बोलते हैं पत्तू. The names I have written down here. I will come back to this and show you something. I'll come back to this. ठीक है ना? इस स्लाइड के बारे में तुम्हें अभी और भी कुछ बताऊंगा. Okay, this is Ettu Tokai. These are the 8 anthologies. These are the 8 anthologies. First 5 of them, right? First 5, all of them are akam. Akam means dealing with love, emotions, internal, the way it works, we discussed, right? And the other 2 deal with Puram. Right? देखो यहाँ पे अकन लिख रहे हैं. Akan is basically one form of akam only. And Puram को Puran लिख दिया. So you can notice such things. Although you do not know the language, but you can see it's very scientifically done. Try and understand that science and then you will be able to crack toughest of the questions coming on this year. Right? So, and the last one has a combination of akam as well as Puram. Right? So, if you see, as I was trying to explain to you some finer details, 6 of these use akaval meter. Akaval meter. You remember we were talking about akaval and venba. So, but they use akaval. Then there are a couple of other meters used as well. Right? One very interesting point that I should probably explain to you here is that a general harmony prevails throughout this literature. There are conventions and traditions which are being followed by everybody. There are certain clear, there's a certain clear unity in the way it is structured, yet individual brilliance also shines through. This is a statement of Neelkanta Shastri. It can make a mains question. So ये ध्यान रखेंगे. I will read it once for you, right? देखो उनकी भाषा में सुन लो एक बार. A general harmony prevails throughout Ettutogai. Right? The tone and temper of the age is reflected in all their poems with a singular likeness. which was molded according to literary conventions. Yet they reveal the individual genius as well. Right? अच्छा, एक बात और बहुत interesting संगम literature के बारे में, which I think I will highlight. It is mostly secular. It deals with non-religion subject matter. तो उस sense में it is secular. Although some portions of it is dealing with worship of certain gods, right? But mostly the poem, they deal with secular matters, which is also very unique. Why? Because if you look at ancient Indian literature, तो हम लोग क्या देखते हैं? Vedic, Buddhist, Jain, very few examples of such people's literature coming out this way. That way, it is a very wonderful part of our heritage, and we should be taught this topic in slightly better manner, right? Okay, यहाँ तक अभी हम लोग को समझ में आई है थोड़ी सी बात. I will assume and take you towards the next slide. देखो, these are your 10 idols of the Pattu Pattu. So I took it from Wikipedia. See, Tiru Muru Karu Patai. This was a guide on how to worship Lord Murugan. Then Poru Narara, Poru Nara Rupatai, guide for the war bards, that to which chief you should go, which chief is very, very, liberal with patronage. Such information. Guide for bards with small lutes, big lutes. You see, what are they trying to do here? They are trying to preserve this tradition of poetry through these pattu pattus. Acha, और भी देखो और क्या क्या है? Reflection on Madurai. So it is talking about the city of Madurai. One pattu pattu is dealing with Madurai only. Right? अब एक चीज जानने की आपको आवश्यकता बचती है भी, जो बहुत बड़ी चीज है. Then all this will start falling into the place, right? Another very interesting feature of Sangam literature, these poems, is that a single individual is never glorified, right? It is always the role which he or she is performing has been talked about, right? So for example, they will not call the hero and heroine by the names. They will call them by neutral terms such as a lover and the beloved, Thalaiva and Thalaivi, right? That is how they will talk about their subject matter, not through names. Okay, this is another classification of the Sangam literature that you should understand. Sangam literature is also classified on the basis of geography. क्या मतलब? If you look at that entire far south region, right? If you look at that region, you will see from Vengadam Hills to your Kanyakumari, you will notice that the geography is very diverse. देखते हैं कैसे? देखो, this red region, these are your mountains of Western Ghats. I hope you remember Cardamom Hills and all, how they come to almost at the center, right? In far south. Palaghat Pass, उसके आसपास का याद करना थोड़ा सा. So the point is, these are your mountains. Rocky mountains. Western Ghats के mountain कैसे हैं आपको मालूम है. Now, this is known as Mullai. No, I'm so sorry. This is known as Kurinchi. The mountainous region is known as Kurinchi. And just as the mountains end, what kind of terrain do you expect? rugged, dry terrain, having lots of boulders, that kind of a terrain. Parched land. Parched land. Right? This is known as Palai. This is known as Palai, the green region just surrounding it. I'm so sorry they're using green, they should not, because in green nothing grows except cactus and a couple of other plants and flowers. But समझ रहे रॉकी टेरेन खत्म होगा तो थोड़ा सा वो चट्टानी इलाका जो है ये, it's that इलाका which I'm talking about. It's called as a Palai. After Palai begins your forests. Small hills, forests, pastures. They are called as Mullai or Mallai. ठीक है भाई? Okay. Once you leave these, ये क्या था तुम्हारा? हाँ, ये Mullai. So once you leave these pasture land, forests, you come to the next region, which are your river valleys and plains. Your Vaigai and Kaveri, etc. Both on the west and east coast. It's that region. And finally, so this is known as Marutam. This is known as Marutam. And finally are the coastal areas, which is called as Natal. Which is called as Natal. Each of these thinais. So what has happened here is, देखो समझो इन लोगों ने क्या किया, इन्होंने लॉजिक क्या लगाया. They have created, basically this is a system of classification of poems. Right? It's a device for classification. So what they have done is, they have come up with 7 thinais for Akkam poems and 7 separate thinais which are linked, of course, but they have different names. 7 separate thinais for Puram poems. Right? And 5 are based on geography. These 5. These 5 are based on geography. The other 2 thinais are called as non-geographical thinais. They are for one-sided love, right? कि आप ही पागल हो गए desperate की तरह. और एक और है दूसरा, वो क्या है? Which is for that love which is not acceptable to the society. Right? So they are trying to categorize poems in this manner. What dominant emotion a thinai represents? Mountains represent a dominant emotion. They represent a dominant flora, fauna, livelihood, the god which they worship. And the poems which they write. All the people who are living in these different thinais, they are practicing different occupations. They are interdependent upon each other. Such is the nature of society, we are being told. Right? Names of all the thinais, the names which I am telling you, right? These are the 2 non-geographical Akkam thinais, right? The names which I am telling you here, they all are coming from a specific flower which grows into that region. I mean, if you see, this is so wonderful. Right? I'll show you some data here, and then we will end this session. So these are the 5 geographical thinais of Akkam. Couple of pointers which you should keep in mind. During this time, hero stone worship was very popular. Hero stone are called as Nadukal. So they were, bravery was worshipped. Courage was worshipped in war. Right? All the hero stones, they occur in Palai. Palai are your dry land, arid land, parched land. Aao dekhte hain bhai. So Kurunji, mountains. The landscape is mountainous. The livelihood is hunting, millet cultivation. They also grew millet on the slopes. And honey gathering, which they will sell to other people outside the mountains. Their deity is known as Seon, better known as Kartikeya, Murugan, Shanmukh, Subramanya, Shanmugam. Kartikeya basically. Peacock पे बैठ के चलते हैं, lotus हाथ में रहता है. All that imagery will be noticed in the Kurinchi Thinai Akam poems. You get the point? Symbolism. Lovers elope. Right? Lovers elope. Okay. Certain miscellaneous. Dekho, these Thinais have specific climate, specific time of the day associated with them, which these individual poets would draw out for the imagery purpose. Right? Jaise Kurunji is associated with midnight, cool, moist, winter season. Animals, the flora and fauna are also very well defined here. Mountain with the fauna that you can expect is a monkey, elephant, tiger, bamboo, and the waterfall has been talked about. In fact, each one of them has a specific source of water. For example, Kurunchi has waterfall. Palai has a well. Right? Mullai. What is Mullai? Mullai is your forest region. Forest region, right? Forest and pasture. So they have rivers. Right? Marudam. Marudam are your river valleys. They have ponds. Right? And Natal, they also have wells. Okay? Okay, let's have a look at Palai. Dekho, here the livelihood of people is traveling and fighting. Robbers come here. Right? And they worship Koravai. They worship Koravai. It's a mother goddess of fertility and hunting. Right? Goddess of war and victory. And it represents, symbolizes journey, dangerous journey by the hero. Okay. Mulai. There the people are involved mostly in animal husbandry and shifting cultivation. Right. The god which they worship is Mayo, or the black god. He's also known as Thirumal, Perumal, the black complexioned god. It symbolizes patient waiting. It symbolizes evening, cloudy weather, late summer, deer and rivers, right? Marudam, river plains and valley. Here people are practicing plow, agriculture. This is where the cities are emerging at the most brisk pace. Surplus is being generated, right? The deity is Vendan or Indra. Symbolism is lover's quarrel, irritated wife. Interesting. Just before sunrise, late spring, see, mango, buffalo, fish. Do you see the linkages here? It makes perfect sense. Natal, seashore. I'm so sorry, I have I'm so sorry, बच्चे, मैंने गलत लिख दिया वहां पे. This shouldn't be agriculture. They will be, of course, as you can guess, they will be into fishing, pearl, diving for pearls, and they would also be into salt manufacturing and trading. Certain coastal trade would also be going on. I'm so sorry, this shouldn't be agriculture, right? Oh, मैंने ये पूरा कॉपी कर दिया है, पूरा. I'm so sorry for this. I'm so sorry for this. This entire line is actually wrong. क्रोकोडाइल शार्क वाला ठीक है, ये बीच में 2-3 गलत हो गए, मैं माफी चाहूंगा बच्चे. हाँ, मैं सही कर देता हूं. इनफैक्ट रुको, ऐसे कर देता हूं कि the deity which they worship, I told you about the livelihood. I told you about the livelihood which they practice. The deity which they worship is Varuna, the water god, right? And it represents longest separation. It represents longest separation. Okay, that will make your table absolutely correct. Just to give you certain examples here, these are few of the poems which I managed to find online. And let's see. देखो क्या करते हैं लोग, देखिए. This is a poem from Natal, Thinai. Water lilies bloom in the lagoons where cranes part the water lilies looking for fish. Right? Do you see the analogies, the similes, the metaphors which they are bringing in here? This is why Akkam poetry is considered so wonderful. Kurinchi is your mountain. Isn't it? The tall mountain region. Kurunchi, beach wala. Dekho, it talks about bee. I told you honey collection was one of their major livelihood. Dekho kya bol rahe? Beautiful winged bee whose life is passed in search of honey. Don't speak to me of desire, but tell me what you really saw. Could even the flowers that you know be as full of fragrance as the hair of the woman? Do you see what he's trying to say? Woman I love, his hair, her hair smells better than all the fragrance which you've had. Right? So they would use palai mein dekho. Then there are a couple of other examples as well. You can pause and maybe read and enjoy at your leisure. If you know these terms, then your entire Sangam age, navigating through it becomes very easy for you. Very easy for you. Because then you can make sense of a lot of things. Right? For example, dekho. Mulai Pattu. Mulai, you know, it's mountain. Right? And Pattu, you just heard, it's a song. Let's see what is Mulai Pattu. Mulai Pattu, song about the forests. I'm so sorry, Mulai. मैंने गलत बोला था, मैं माफी चाहता हूं बच्चे ना, थोड़ा गलती हो जाती है कभी कभी. फिर से मैं बोलता हूं, मुल्लाई मैंने आपको क्या बताया है? Mulai are your forests. Kurinji are your mountains. Kurinji are your mountains. Mulai are your forests. और देखो ऐसे ही ये देखो Kurinchi Pattu. So this is song about the hills. Do you see the sense? Do you see how easy it becomes after a point of time if you know a bit of the language? ये देखो, ये हो जाएगा तुम्हारा Mallai Patukatam. Right? That way you can understand a lot of these terms and it shouldn't be bothering us much. All right, I think that will be all that I have to share with you for today and this class. And I hope you liked it. And be sure to like and subscribe the channel at your own pace. Remember, time is of essence here. Time is of essence here, right? Practice writing and choose wisely what you read. Choose wisely what you read. Choose wisely what you study. Remember, this is data fatigue. We do not want to get involved and bogged down by data fatigue. Okay? See you, man. Have fun. Bye-bye for now.